Welcome back everyone, my name is Abdullah Gori from Alpha Technology, and in this video we will talk about object-oriented programming and its pillars. In this video we will see what is object-oriented programming and what are the pillars of object-oriented programming. We will see everything with the help of animation so you can learn everything easily. So do subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so get notification about all the upcoming videos. So let's start our video. So first of all, let's talk about what is object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm based on the concept of objects. So basically, object-oriented programming is not a separate programming language. It's just a technique based on the concept of objects. Objects can contain data in the form of fields. So the object can contain the data, means they can contain variables or members in the form of fields. And objects can contain code in the form of procedure. Now what it means? It means they can contain block of code, and this block of code will known as procedure. You can call them methods or function. In the object-oriented programming, we call them methods. A feature of the object is an object's procedure that can access and often modify the data fields of the object with which they are associated. Now let's see a real-world example of object-oriented programming. Let's assume we have some objects in the form of smartphones. So let's say these are our objects, and these objects will have some properties. So properties like color, internal storage, RAM, and screen size. So these are properties. It means these are variables. And other things that you need to note, the properties can be different for all the objects. Like some phone has the color red, or some phone has the color blue, white, green, etc. Internal storage can also be different, like 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, or 128 gigabytes, and so on. And RAM can also be different, like 2 gigabytes of RAM, 4 gigabytes of RAM, or 8 gigabytes of RAM. And the screen size can also be different, like 4 inches, 5 inches, 4.5 inches, and so on. So these are the properties. The point to be noted is that the properties of the objects can be different from each other. Now these will have another thing, which is methods. Now which type of methods they will have? They will have a method like call, message, take a photo, and play music. Now these methods will be same for all these objects. The point to be noted is that methods will be same for all the objects. Why? Because let's say we have 10 smartphones. All the 10 smartphones can have different color, like blue, green, white, etc. Can have different internal storage, RAM, or screen size, even if they are belong to the same model. But all the smartphone objects will have the functionality of making a call, sending a message, taking a photo, and playing a music. The properties can also be identified as data, variables, fields. You can call them data, variables, fields, etc. And for the method, you can use words like procedure and function, etc. This is the concept of properties and methods. Now we see that objects is the collection of properties and methods. Now actually, whenever a company wants to create a new model, they create a design or model, okay, and in that model they will define the properties of the model that they want to have and the methods they want to have in the smartphone. Now in the programming, the model or design will known as the class. So let's say we have a class called smartphone, and in this class we have some properties related to the smartphones and some methods to related to the smartphones. Now why we are creating the class? Because by creating the class we can create as much objects of that class whatever we want. So let's say if we have a class called smartphone, then we can create so many objects of that smartphone class. So this is the basic explanation of object-oriented programming. So first thing, you need to make a class. In that class you will have some properties. So the properties can be different for all these objects, and you will also have the methods. The methods will be same for all the objects. Let's move on and let's talk about the pillars of object-oriented programming. There are 4 main pillars of object-oriented programming. The first is abstraction, then encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. So these are 4 main pillars of object-oriented programming. Let's talk about them one by one. So let's first talk about abstraction. Abstraction is selecting data from a larger pool to show only the relevant details of the object to the user. Actually, abstraction means if we have large amount of data, then we will only show the relevant and required data to the user. It is known as abstraction. Abstraction shows only the essential attributes and hides unnecessary information. As I said that in the abstraction, we will only show the required essential information to the user and we hide unnecessary information from the user. It helps to reduce programming complexity and effort. Now let's see an example of abstraction. Now let's say we have a smart TV. Whenever we want to change a channel from the smart TV, we just need to press a key and we can change the channel. So this is called abstraction, because we only need to press one key and then the channel will be changed. But if we look at the whole procedure or action that took place at the backend, then we'll see that this smart TV will have a motherboard. Whenever we press any key, it will catch the signals and it will do some action at the backend. But because we are using the concept of abstraction there, we don't need to care about what is going on at the backend. We just need to press one key and the channel will be changed. This is called abstraction, to provide only the required information to the user so it can do everything easily. So this is abstraction. Now let's talk about encapsulation. Encapsulation is one of the fundamental concepts in object-oriented programming, which is also known as OOP. It describes the idea of bundling data and methods that work on that data within one unit. So in the encapsulation, we bundle data and methods that will work on that data within one unit. So the best example of encapsulation is using a class. So in the class, we bundle properties and methods, and after that we can create the object of the class to use them. This concept is also often used to hide the internal representation or state of an object from the outside. In encapsulation, we try to hide the sensitive data to be accessed from the outside. Let's take an example. Let's say we have an object called student. In the student object, we have some properties like student name, student obtained marks, total marks, and student result. Now we will make methods to access these properties. Why we will make methods? Because let's say whenever anyone wants to access the property of student result, it can change it. It can change it to pass or it can change it to fail. Now we don't want to do that. We want that no one can change the student result property. Now that's why we will keep them private, and to access them we will provide some methods. In the methods we can set some restrictions, like the result will be calculated according to the student 10 marks and the total marks. So that's how the encapsulation works. What actually we do, we hide the sensitive data to be accessed from the outside. Now let's see an example of encapsulation. Let's see, we have this capsule, and here inside this capsule we have variables. So these variables represent data, and then we have methods, and then at the outside we have a class. So to access the variables, first we need to create the object of class, then we need to get the help of the methods to access the variables. This is called hiding the sensitive data. No one can directly access the variables of our class because we are using the concept of encapsulation. Now let's move on to inheritance. What is inheritance? Inheritance is the mechanism of basing an object or class upon another object or class retaining similar implementation. In inheritance, let's say we have two similar classes, so we can inherit the functionality of superclass to the base class. Inheritance also defined as deriving new classes from existing ones such as superclass or base class and then forming them into a hierarchy of classes. Now let's say we have two classes. One is base employee class and second one is commission employee class. Now we have a functionality in commission employee class like employee name, social security number, employee salary, and so on. Now we want to add the same functionality in our base employee class, but the difference will only have in the calculating of salary. So what we can do, we can inherit the functionality of commission employee class, and we can also add our own methods to override the existing functionality of commission employee class, and we will see these sort of example in the practical videos. But for now, I will explain the theory of object-oriented programming and its pillars. Now let's see an example of inheritance. Let's say we have electronics items. We want to create the phones. We don't want to create the electronics items from the scratch. What we will do, we will inherit the electronics item to the phones and sound systems. From the phones, we want to create mobile phones and code phones. Now what we will do, we will inherit the functionality of phones to the mobile phones and code phones. What will be the benefit of inheriting the phones? Now you can see that in the phones we can make a call and message. So when we inherit the functionality of phones in the smartphone, we can make calls and message by using the implementation of phones. And same goes for code phones. In the code phones, we can use the existing functionality of phones for making a call or dialing a number. Now let's move on to the right hand example. We have a sound system. Now we want to create two other sound systems like earplugs and stereos. Now what we will do, we will inherit the functionality of sound system and we will merge the implementation of sound system in earplugs and stereos. Now we don't need to implement this sound system from scratch again. So that's how inheritance works. So we have a superclass, then we have a subclass. The subclass can access the implementation of superclass. So this is called inheritance. Now let's talk about the polymorphism. Polymorphism is OOPS concept where one name can have many forms. Actually, poly means many, morph means forms. For example, you have a smartphone for communication. The communication mode you choose could be anything. It can be a call, a text message, a picture message, mail, etc. Now let's take an example of polymorphism. Now let's see, we have an animal class and we have two other classes like cat and dog. Now these cat and dog will have a method called speak because they have a functionality that they can speak. The cat class will inherit the animal class and the dog class will inherit the animal class. Now what will be the benefit by using polymorphism? Now whenever we call the speak method by using the cat object, it will dynamically speak meow, and whenever we call the speak method using dog object, it will dynamically call wow. Another thing is that we can make a pointer of animal class and we can assign the addresses of cat and dog to it. Now whenever we call animal.speak, it will dynamically see which memory address it has and it will dynamically call the speak method of that class. So this is called polymorphism. So that was just a theoretical examples or explanation of object-oriented programming and its pillars. In the upcoming videos, we will see that how actually we can implement the concept of object-oriented programming and their pillars in real-world programs. So for now, that's all from this video. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, hit the like button, and if you have any question or suggestion, you can comment down below. I will answer your all questions. Do share it with your friends so they can learn as well. Do subscribe our channel and press the bell icon so you get notification whenever we upload a new video to our channel. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.